You are not going to believe this. I just had the most amazing experience. In this video, I'll share why most photographers get stuck and don't improve beyond the OK level in their photography. This is why you won't improve. Well, not the stones of course, but the areas that each of these represent. Becoming a next level photographer requires you to focus on several different things. If you only focus on one of these areas, then you cannot move to the next level, and most photographers actually pour all their energy into the wrong thing, which is this one right here. And it won't make you a better photographer. Or maybe you focus a little bit on this one too, which also doesn't make you better, at least not a lot. Especially in the beginning, we need to focus much more on these three down here. It's a beautiful semi-overcast day today. The sun peeps out now and then, but if it doesn't get too bright, hopefully I can get some nice shots of the fall colors over a beautiful lake that's nearby. So let's go. This stone that I mentioned before is what most photographers are really obsessed about, and this is gear. They're obsessed with getting the right stuff, the right gear, choosing the right camera, even what camera is the best. It's just a tool. But if you don't get any of these other rights, it doesn't matter whether we get the best gear. That's why you'll see all these videos with a shootout between a pro photographer with a $500 camera and a beginner with a $5,000 camera. Of course, the pro photographer wins because he knows that it isn't the gear that matters. Well, of course gear matters, but not when we haven't begun to focus on these other three areas. So let's move on to this top stone, which you'll likely spend a lot of time on. Most photographers tend to use this way too much, including myself. And this one is post-processing. Editing your image can set your photos apart and come alive when you have improved on these other three areas. At worst, we can destroy our own images by focusing on processing when we don't even know anything about sharpening, cropping, composition, or getting the right exposure. And we try to fix that in post, but sometimes it will just make things worse. Now, these three are the ones that can lift us higher and become better photographers in no time. And they kind of go together. If we get these three areas right, we don't need to focus so much on camera gear and post-processing. So it's finally time to take a look at this first area down here, and it can really help you level up your photography quickly if you do it right. And this first one is to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to level up your native photography. Sorry, I couldn't help it. No, seriously, this first one is of course learning. Since you're here, you may actually focus a little bit on this as well. So let's take an example. Of course, you need to know your camera, what each button does, and when to use each button for that moment, when you have that golden opportunity to get the kind of shot that you're looking for. You also need to learn about composition, light, and all the other elements. Just like cooking a meal, a photo is made up by different ingredients that need to be combined in the right way to create a successful result. And if you don't know how to use these elements, your photos will be lacking, or you may get a lucky shot but will have a hard time to take another one that's just as good. The main problem is that you often get a list with 10 tips to improve your wildlife photography or 7 tips to nail the perfect exposure in landscape photography. And this is great for getting information. I love it. But the thing is, it's just a terrible way of learning. Your head will almost explode from all the things to remember. You are not going to believe this. I just had the most amazing experience. I was setting up my tripod for doing a landscape shot of this shore over here, and then as I was preparing and I was about to put my camera on the tripod, a roe deer suddenly appeared out of absolutely nowhere, I had no idea they were right here. So first it jumped across the track over here, and then it suddenly decided that so it actually jumped back over the track and straight into the water. So it was like swimming across this little lake or bog. I never saw a roe deer swim before, so it's quite amazing. And as I said, it was totally out of nowhere. I got a little bit sidetracked in what I was supposed to do, but hopefully I can still get a good shot of the fall colors here, even though it is starting to clear up a bit, so I better hurry. Without the next thing, the first one doesn't help much. They have to work together. And this is maybe the most important thing, this one. It will help you move above the OK plateau. And this is practice. Now, practice is like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you get. So the more you practice the skills, the better you'll become at them. You can't wait to practice your skills until you're face to face with a lion in the Serengeti, or on that morning when the light is just perfect. If we can't remember what to do, what settings to use, and what to do if we have backlight, front lighting, side lighting, then it doesn't really work. But we need to practice them, and we need to practice them deliberately, one thing at a time, and that's a key element here. So take one topic or technique, learn the key points, and then repeat it deliberately. In my opinion, that's the way to learn. It might seem odd for photography, but if you think about top tennis players, they practice how to serve for a whole session. They don't do anything else in that session. And if you do the same, you'll be a next level photographer in no time. Practice making silhouettes for a whole session, or practice tracking a subject in flight for a whole session. Or for landscape photography, practice using leading lines in your compositions. Like for each session you can take 1 or 2 topics at the most and go and practice that. Now I'm finally set up for taking some fall foliage shots from this bog or small lake, but the worst thing that can happen to a landscape photographer has just happened. The sun has come out, it's shining through most of the time, so there are just these short bursts of time where I can actually get a good shot, but the wind has also picked up. So my idea of getting a shot of the reflection from the beech, you know the name, birch trees, it's not very clear, so I'll just have to wait a little bit until the breeze also wears off a bit. So hopefully I'll succeed, but right now I don't have a lot of confidence in it, but let's see. Now, this is really a beautiful spot. It's not Iceland or New Zealand or anything dramatic like that, but it's still beautiful. And the point is, I can still get a lot of practice here. I still get into the habit of using a proper technique that'll ensure that once I get there, the shots will be awesome. Let's take a look at the third stone in the pile, the third area that we need to focus on. And this is one that sometimes hurts, but it will also help you take leaps in your photography because it is so specific about what you're doing and what that doesn't work, and just as important, what does work. To improve fast, we need someone to tell us what we need to focus on and to improve, and we need someone to ask clarifying questions. It's kind of interesting to think about that if you want to go to some type of sport, you would want a coach or a teacher. Or if you want to learn a new language, you would seek out a teacher without thinking twice. Why would you do that? Because you know they can help you master the thing you want faster. And it's the same with nature photography or photography in general. We need feedback to clarify our doubts, and that's the way I've learned. It actually makes a lot of sense. So instead of taking the approach where you kind of fixate on a topic that you think are important and you find out the 10 things there is to know, and you go in the field and you forget half of them. It happens to me also. Or instead of going after this shiny, new, expensive lens that will help you take sharper, but still only images at the okay level, I suggest that you instead focus on this. Learn one thing, put it into practice, get feedback, and then repeat. If that is something you need help with, get on my newsletter list and I'll put a link to it in the description below. If you wonder where to start, you might want to take a look at the one camera feature that I wished I knew sooner. When you know how to use it, you won't make exposure mistakes again. It can help you no matter if you're shooting macro, landscape or wildlife. So go watch that video. See you over there.